Awesome. And while we'll do that, we're going to go ahead and kick it off because, like I said a few minutes back, we have a full hour. So we want to make sure that we're using all of that. So if this is your first climate career advancement session, welcome. If this is your fifth, your 10th, welcome back to all of you as well. If we have not met before, hi, I'm Natalie Lavery. I head up marketing for Climate People. Climate People collaborates with MCJ and Leone here to offer these sessions every month. Every month we cover something different on a career journey. We've covered everything from resumes to sustainability, upskilling, and today we're going to be talking about building your personal brand. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we're super excited to have Sharmila here. She is incredible. We've collaborated on so many events in the past and always learned so much from her. So super excited that she's joined us to share her expertise on building your personal brand and how you can integrate that personal brand into your job search. So, Shamila, thank you again. And I'll let you introduce yourself. You can obviously do a little bit of a better job doing that than me, but thank you again so much for spending this time with us.
Oh, my pleasure. And I really want to thank Climate People and MCJ for having me. Nally, for all that you do to coordinate these sessions. Thank you so much. And a little bit about me. My name is Sharmila Singh. I'm the founder of Green Lens Consulting and Coaching. And I support folks who want to make a pivot into the climate space or advance in the field. I help with building your brand. And in addition to that, I support folks with kind of all aspects of that career development journey for you. So I support folks with their resumes and cover letters, application process, building a roadmap, and then finally salary negotiation. So kind of soup to nuts, supporting folks with their climate journeys. In addition, I'm also a consultant, and I've been in the climate space since 2004. And I've had the pleasure of working with some pretty amazing brands and some really fun brands, both in the for-profit and nonprofit space, focusing on building sustainability action plans as well as supporting zero waste initiatives. A lot of my work, I've had this pleasure of working with a lot of fun groups and just kind of going clockwise. None of this work can be done in a silo. You're touching points with various departments. So really what brings me joy is working with groups of people and collaborating, whether it be Bear Republic on the left or the Presidio Graduate School, the top right. We're pictured here. You can't see because it's just the bottom floor, but we did a tour of the Salesforce Tower and did a LEED Green Building tour. I was the director of career services at Presidio Graduate School and served them for 3 years. And then down below, Clover Sonoma. So what really excites me about this work is working with teams. And I've now also had the pleasure of supporting organizations with helping them build their climate teams. And so I see a lot of resumes. So I see how to best position yourself for these roles. So at the kind of foundation of this is really building your brand. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So just to give you a snapshot of what we'll cover today, we're going to first talk about some of the core elements of building your personal brand, what it is, and what some core foundational points of your personal brand statement. Then it's going to get exciting. We're going to work through a personal brand statement exercise together. And then I'm going to have you practice your statement. For those brave souls that want to share amongst the group, it's a great space to practice. And then we're going to close out for questions. So keep your questions. If you have questions that come up during the session, put them in the question box and we will address them at the end of the session. And we'd love to hear your questions. So let's dive in. So your personal brand is essentially your unique story. It speaks to the combination of skills and experience and the personality that you want the world to see within you. We have this great opportunity to kind of showcase our brands on LinkedIn. And this originally started, I was helping folks with their kind of creating their bios for them. And out of that stemmed this brand statement exercise that I'll share with you. But essentially, we can utilize this brand statement a couple different ways. So I have the folks I work with, we can use it in your LinkedIn profile, in your about section. It also can work nicely at the top of your resume. Also, when you get that kind of dreaded question in an interview, tell me about yourself, you can customize your personal brand statement to speak to those unique skills that you bring, the value you bring in terms of impact. You can showcase your expertise and methodology. Essentially, building a nice, authentic brand helps you set yourself apart from others. At the foundation of this, I like to talk about knowing your superpowers. Everybody has them. These are those unique skills that you bring to any role. This is what you kind of innately do. So when you're starting to think about the kind of core facets of your brand, I want you to think about those things that you enjoy doing, you've just been doing for such a long time. And then how does this relate to sustainability or climate roles? For those of you who are just embarking on your climate journey, we know it's like a vast phase, a vast field. I want you to maybe just start to think about what are some of the areas that you're just passionate about. These are the things that you might be researching in your free time, reading about in your spare time, or into the wee hours of the night sometimes. These are the areas that might be kind of the areas that you want to investigate and jumping into in a role. That's kind of how it starts. Think about what are those kind of topics that I'm interested in? Is it clean energy, or is it sustainable or regenerative agriculture? That in combination with thinking about what are some of the core things that I might be qualified for? These are your transferable skills. What am I doing in my current role? Some of the kind of core aspects to think about might be communications and leadership, program management, problem-solving skills, or analytical skills. If you're good with numbers, or you are able to create strong Excel spreadsheets, we need you in the space. So these are some of just kind of the core skills to start to think about as you build your brand statements. And now we're going to build. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise. We're going to walk through these prompts together, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of jot down your thoughts for each of these prompts. So if you haven't done so already, grab a pen or paper or pull up a document on your computer, and we're going to walk through these together. These are kind of the foundational components, and then we'll build your statement out of the insights that come from these journal prompts. So I want to start out with your heart factor. This is the core of who you are. I know I'm in my element when blank. What I mean by this, what I mean by heart factors, I want you to think about those times where you feel like you've been working on something, you've been working on a project, and time just goes. It's like you've been working on it for hours and you're in it, you're in a zone. What comes to mind for you? Take a few minutes to jot those down. And I'd love to see them in the chat if you want to chat some of those like elements that come to mind when you're in the zone. What are you doing? What are you working on? I'll give you a few minutes to kind of think about this. I see a question around a specific type. What are the specific type of tasks? So this could be that I'm in my zone, I'm in my element when I'm researching. I'm in my zone, I'm in my element when I'm solving a problem, when I'm ideating, when I'm creating a process. Thanks, William. I know I'm in my element when I'm helping others. That's beautiful. I know I'm in my element when I'm connecting people to resources and services. I love that. When I'm strategizing, Devin says when he's doing strategy. Thinking through GTM, leading a team, doing business development, excellent. Organizing chaos in the moment and strategizing what's next. Yes. when I'm trying to come up with a creative solution to a problem that wasn't initially obvious. Excellent. These are all great. I'm going to give you just one more minute. I'm in my element when the work that I do benefits marginalized communities. Beautiful. Thank you, Christine. Juggling multiple projects and keeping them on schedule. Great. Adam says, I'm in the zone when I was designing and architecting systems that all fit together to improve the sustainability of my house. Beautiful. Did a recent renovation and redesigned the whole heating, the water, the gray water. Adam, that's awesome. I might need you to come over to my house. Formalizing knowledge with diagrams, work diagrams. Excellent. Great. So I want to have you kind of, I see them more coming, but I want you to kind of think about, if you need more time to think about the heart factors in your zone, but we are going to move on to the boss factor. This is the knowledge that you hold and the skills you possess. People recognize my expertise in blank. I don't want you to get hung up on the term expertise here. I want you to just think about the things that you've done. Maybe you've just been doing them for a long time. Maybe you have a degree in this. Maybe you have a certification in this. These could be things like program management. It could be very specific. It could be architecture, engineering. How might you be able to use solar to use this directly in other areas? Adam, can you clarify that a little bit more? We can also address this. And you feel free to unmute yourself, Adam, actually, if you want to.
So I was more saying I'm looking at other areas to be able to, so most people think, okay, solar, I use it for electricity. Okay, how can, or indirectly with like a heat pump for heating. You know, some of the things that I'm looking into doing here is how can I potentially convert it to hydrogen for storage, for heating, for electricity, even potentially using it for fuel. So becoming more of a complete system rather than all of these things separated apart.
Yeah, so I think you could even put that in a statement of like a systems approach to solar, a more holistic approach to solar.
Okay.
That's how I would kind of frame this initial brand statement. And this
As
actually,
to how that relates to like your boss statement, for example, these aren't necessarily things that people know me for yet. So the way that that statement is phrased is, what do they know you for? And this is kind of unknown knowledge about me and things that I've been working on. So how do you frame that?
it wouldn't go in your boss factor since this
Okay.
is something that you're creating. But what I would suggest is adding this when we'll look at a template after these journal prompts. And what I suggest is kind of adding a closing statement that speaks to how you want to kind of combine all these skills towards, building your expertise in solar. So I think there's a way that we can like combine all them together and then introduce that you're interested in solar.
Makes
Similar,
sense.
like for folks who are just embarking on their sustainability journeys, you're kind of setting us up for like, here are the things that I do well, here are the things I'm doing now. And I'm looking to utilize all these skills to build a career in the climate space. Yeah. To answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
And that sets a good point. So the brand statement, I never suggest kind of having it as a standalone. It's your introduction. So think of it as kind of this introduction where you create it and we want to hear more. I often, like I said, put the brand statement in your LinkedIn About section. So you'll have that as your introduction, and then you provide examples of your work. Or it's in your resume, and then you provide examples of your work. So when you're crafting this, I kind of want you to think about creating something that wants, a statement that would want to make us hear more. Yeah, essentially your elevator pitch. I'm hearing product marketing, strategy, design, comms, fundraising, partnerships. Excellent. Personal and professional development. Beautiful. People recognize my expertise in fundraising and creating meaningful experiences through events. Wonderful. Product management, operations, event planning. Thanks, Anna. Beautiful. Let's move on to the superstar factor. So this we touched upon a little earlier in the deck, but I wanted you to think about these qualities that set you apart. These are often things that people come to you for. So if you notice in your professional or personal life, people come to you perhaps to help them organize, or maybe they come to you because they know you're a great listener. Think about those qualities that you bring that you're often asked to do. One thing to note is I want you to jot down all the things that you want to continue to do, the things that will bring you joy. Because we're going to turn these kind of key insights into a statement that you want to showcase. And I don't want you to showcase anything that you just don't want to do anymore. So when you're thinking about those superstar factors, think about those areas that really you're asked to do a lot, people come to you for, but you really enjoy doing those things as well. I see conveying technical concepts to non-technical teams and customers. Great. That's great, Peter. So you're able to take maybe complex topics and kind of put them in elemental format for folks to be able to understand and comprehend, to engage stakeholders. That's excellent. Leadership, getting folks going in the right direction, or in the same direction. Ability to have a wide perspective on things. It could be technical, but not only. Excellent. Christine shares my superstar factor, empathy in making presentations look visually beautiful. Awesome. And people comment on my ability to just figure it out, adapt to new challenges. An excellent superpower. Give you 1 more minute here. Ashley, ability to listen, show empathy, and simplify complex thoughts and ideas. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Ashley. So from these journal prompts, you have come away with some key insights and kind of key terms. Now we're going to take these key terms and plug them into this template. So this looks a bit like Mad Libs, right? So this is intentional because I want you to kind of essentially plug and play these without thinking too much. I am a blank, known for blank and blank. I use my blank skills and blank skills to make impacts in these areas. I use this key trait to serve blank. You'll come away with a statement that speaks to what you do, for who, and how. And I'm a visual person, so I want to share an example here with you. Responsible supply chain professional with 7 years of experience working with Fortune 500 companies to create operational efficiencies and improve sustainable supply chains. Passionate about utilizing business as a tool for positive impact with proven experience in conceiving, developing, and implementing sustainable and ethical global supply chain strategies. So in this statement, we know kind of what this person's about, how long they've been doing it. They want to share that, for who, and the specific pain points they solve for. This is just one example. And even with this template, I want you to fill in these blanks, but also curate this as you will to showcase kind of those skills that you've pulled from these journal prompts, what you do, your expertise, what you enjoy doing, and who you wish to serve. And now I'm going to give you about 7 minutes to curate your own statement. And I'll leave it on this template in case you all actually want to see the example again. I can kind of toggle back to that too. But I'm going to give you about, say, 7 minutes to kind of create your statement. And let me know if you have any questions. Mm. Thank you, Erin. Thanks for posting that in the chat. And that was fast.
There's a question in the chat from Emily Tramillo that says, do the factors we just worked on slot into any specific blanks, or do we just figure out how to puzzle piece them in?
I would say figure out how you want to kind of puzzle piece them in and how they fit together for you. And you can use a couple different variations. When I work with my clients, I suggest them coming up with a few different versions, and we can kind of tailor them and refine them a bit. But don't worry about too much, like where, like, yeah, which skills from the journal prompts go where. Great question though, Emily. Thank you. And for those of you who are like, well, I don't exactly know the like statement I want to share, like I am it, fill in the blank. You can kind of think about it in terms of like overarching. So if you've done, say, program management for a long time, you can say I'm a program manager or a sustainability professional. If you don't want to zone into a kind of specific niche at this time, you can speak to kind of overarching roles that you've had. You can even get creative and say, I'm a continuous learner known for. And then you tell us more about what you enjoy learning, what you research, and how you put those into play. Right. Lior, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. That's a great question. So you're wanting to pivot into kind of, it looks like the recruiting space.
Yeah, it's correct, by the way. You say it correctly. That's it.
Oh, okay, great. Great. So you're wanting to pivot into the recruiting space and you don't have the skills at this time. I want you to think about all of the things that you've done that may be transferable to the recruiting space. So when I think of recruiting, I think of being able to research, being able to communicate effectively, being able to engage with folks. Those are the kind of skills I want you to highlight and then close it out with, say, with an interest of pivoting into the recruiting space. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, it makes sense, but eventually, from the experience I had so far in the past few months, unless you have in your CV, if it's about sending your CV somewhere, unless you have the specific, match to what was described in the role description, it doesn't matter if you have like, let's say analytic skills with a specific software, but in, I don't know, this kind of field, and they were looking for something else in another field, but still it's about analytics using the same software. Those things doesn't like, because there are so many candidates probably, they're looking for the ones with the most matches or something like this.
Wow.
That's why I'm asking.
that's a great question. This statement is meant to be an introduction to what you do and where you want to pivot to. I completely agree with you that you need to have kind of this background and skill set to be able to match for some of these roles, especially if they say, look, we need 3 years of experience in this area. But this statement just helps you set the stage and kind of make that introduction. It doesn't solve the problem of not having the experience or background that they may be looking for, but this would be your introduction.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. Thanks for the question. So I see another question here, and yes, the great world of ATS systems. Love to hear a suggestion on how to improve this. Great. Yes. I'm an early career climate professional with a background passion about connecting with others. I think, am I saying this right? Gianna? I think this is excellent. What do you feel like is missing from this? What do you feel like you want to maybe highlight more? Feel free to unmute yourself or chat it. Gina. Okay, no problem. You're in the library. I'm curious what you would want to kind of showcase more. I think this is really Really well done. It speaks to your background, what you're passionate about, and then you close out with some additional skills. What is it about? No, I think this is great. Your question is, I'm always open for room to improvement, but I wasn't sure if it's too focused or limited in the amount of skill, limited on a limited bout of skills. So one thing to note is, I would say keep it simple. Don't try to showcase all your skills into one short paragraph. I want you to just highlight these kind of core skills that you want to bring out. And then you're like, for example, if you put this at the top of your resume, you're showcasing these kind of core skills, and then you're telling me more in your resume. If you put it in your LinkedIn About section, this is your intro, and then you're telling me more. So don't try to fit everything into one short paragraph, but really look at this as this introduction to sharing more and showcasing more. Yes, I would say like customize it for your resume depending on the role, but I would say, if you try to put everything in one bucket, it all gets lost in the shuffle. Adam sharing his statement with us. This is beautiful. I love this, Adam. I'm wondering if you can create, you have 3 paragraphs here. I'm wondering if you created one paragraph, what you would share. Like the nice short pitch. I know that's kind of difficult, but I wonder if you plug and play some of the terms from the journal prompts, what comes out of that. Great, I'm seeing some great examples. I actually might have you share them amongst the group. We're gonna give a few more, some more time to work on these. And then I'd love for, if you'd like, Rachel, to share your statement with the group at the close of the exercise. This is really well done. Great examples, everyone. Really rocking it. Leora's question, is there any specific advice for people with a lot of experience but no climate experience? Yeah, so what I would say is I'd want you to speak to all of those skills that you're wanting to utilize, your SaaS related skills, customer support, technical, business operations, all the things that are transferable. I think one of the common kind of misconceptions I see is that we have to reinvent ourselves for climate roles. It's not true. It's like all of the skills that you have been cultivating and the things that you've been doing, they all feed into these transferable skills that can feed into a climate role. So I want you to speak to those. I want you to showcase those because they're needed. So you are specifically for your question, I would add this to your statement. Add those components that you feel like you'd want to bring to a climate role and showcase them here. We need
Okay.
staff, we need technical business operations, we need all that. I'm currently working in Salesforce, using that as a tool.
Working with or working in?
Yeah, working with
Ah,
the utilization of it. Yeah, as a tool.
okay.
Great point. It is great to see all the impressive people wanting to dive in and impact the climate. This is so wonderful. Hi, Lisa from Oakland. I'm here in Oakland as well. Pranav has a question. As a recent master's graduate, oh, I lost it, with no work experience as such. That's a great question. So I want you to think about the things that you have done leading up to your graduate program, those skills that you bring, and then some of those skills that you cultivated in your graduate school program. Those are all the skills I'd want you to showcase.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to give you one more minute. Yeah, I like this idea. We are. Excellent, Peter. Peter, do you want to be the first, not to put you on the spot, but do you want to be the first person to, brave soul, to share your statement with the group?
Oh boy. Um, do you mean the statement that I just entered
Yeah,
into the chat?
yeah, this is so great.
Oh, thank you. It took me a while. Sure, I am a consultant known for managing projects, developing partnerships, and translating complex concepts. I use my networking skills and project management skills to foster new partnerships and initiatives between players in the sustainability ecosystem. And I utilize my talent for creative problem solving to develop new and impactful programs.
This is excellent. This is so well done. Thank you for
Well, thank you.
sharing, and thank you for being brave to be the first one to share.
No problem.
This is really beautiful. So it really speaks to what skills you bring. You bring your networking skills and project management skills to foster new partnerships and initiatives between players in the sustainability ecosystem. And the only thing I would say is if you want to focus on a specific area of sustainability, I would get specific and say like players in the clean tech or players in green building. I'm not sure like the area. If you
Yeah.
wide, that's totally fine. But that's
Yeah, I think sorry, I was just gonna say I've kind of in the process of narrowing that down now. This is definitely something that I've tried to tailor, back and forth between, my target industry.
Yeah. This looks really great. You know, you can start this, if you put this in your LinkedIn About section, this could be like your starter, and then you can showcase kind of the aspects that you've been working on and some of the impacts you've made, and it would be a beautiful addition to your LinkedIn
I
About section.
appreciate that. I think I put in consultant as sort of, that's kind of I've taken on some part-time work with that, but I've worked as a program manager and then in business development in the past. And I'm kind of trying to, even though my experience is sort of mainly in the business development side, I've actually been looking to um, sort of transition over to maybe more project management. So would you recommend putting in something more project management focused, even though, I haven't maybe specifically had that title before, or I guess how would you navigate that?
Sure. You know, if you haven't had the title, but you've done everything that
Right.
surrounds project management, I think it's okay to say like, you have known for, but you could say, I use my project management skills here. I think this is how I'd frame it. Yeah, you could even put it in your known for, because we're not really looking at the titles. If you can back it up with like, this is what I've done in project management, you can add it for the first half of your statement.
Gotcha. Okay.
All,
Cool.
all I would say is that, have kind of core impact statements after this to be able to back it up, whether it's verbally, like in an interview, or, in your LinkedIn About section.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
And, that is tricky. If you haven't had the title, but you've done it, you could speak to it. Like if just because it hasn't been in your titles and your roles, but you're like, look, I know the ins and outs of process management or business development, or I've done, stakeholder engagement, include that in your statement, showcase that, highlight that.
Gotcha. I think I hesitate to add. I do end up using my business development experience a lot. I try not to get pigeonholed, in that regard, and I find that's happening sometimes when I'm looking for work.
Sorry, pigeonholed in which aspect?
On the business development side, and not that I think it's useful to have that type of experience, but I've been trying to, transition away from that, and I kind of find myself getting roped into that when I mention I have that experience primarily.
Yeah, one thing is not, just eliminating that from your statement, but the other is to then qualify what you mean by business development, leading towards the directions where you are interested in working in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Peter. Who else wants to share their statements? I also see a question here quick. How would this statement change if we're looking to pivot into different careers and climate? Christine, this is a great question. So two things. You can keep this pretty broad and speak to those transferable skills. And then you could close out the statement with looking to utilize these skills and then fill in the blank into this area specific to climate. And if this is for like your resume, for example, you could switch that out depending on the role. If it's for, say, something that's we're not going to touch it for a while as your LinkedIn About section, you could say, specifically looking to pivot to a career in climate, and then qualify it with some areas or aspects of climate that you're interested in. Does that make sense? Great. Who else would like to share their statements? Love to hear them. I'll read Anna's statement since she's in the library. I'm a project manager and continuous learner with 8 years of professional experience, known for my ability to just figure it out and adapt to new challenges. I use my background in product management, entrepreneurship, operations, and storytelling to solve customer problems and efficiently scale growing teams and processes. I bring my ability to spot patterns and look at problems holistically across various industries into the climate tech space, and specifically regenerative ag, seaweed, and food systems. I love this because it really speaks to the pain points that she can solve for an organization and her methodology. So I can get a sense of how she works and the kind of skill set she brings, but also like kind of her leadership skills. This is excellent. Anyone else like to share? Well, thank you for playing along and for sharing your statements in the chats. Just to kind of close out and final thoughts around this. So your personal brand statement is something that's living. It can continuously grow and develop as you build upon your skills. So I suggest revisiting this exercise. You can revisit this exercise every year, every quarter even, to see how it might have changed, what you want to add on to this, what new skill sets you want to add, what new interests you want to add. Your statement can provide you a nice North Star. And what I mean by that is kind of this foundational statement that you can then set up to create a nice, clear and concise LinkedIn about section, or even your resume. If this is like your intro, what other kind of components do you want to share to back this up? So this exercise we work on with my clients is like our first exercise because it provides a really nice foundation for everything else that you want to share. So we'll share a template. So you'll have the exercise to have with you, and you can continue to work on this. Feel free to message me. You can message me on LinkedIn. You can share your statements with me. I'm happy to help you revise them. I'd love to see them. And let's certainly keep in touch. You can find me at greenlensconsulting.com, also on LinkedIn. I host a series of webinars and offer resources on my LinkedIn page and as well as my website. So check those out. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll open up the floor to questions.
Amazing.
free to-
Thanks so much, Jamila. I love that presentation. I always learn so much and really, really appreciate how you call attention to that. When you build this statement, it's really a framework that you can build off of for answering the About You section in an interview, and your networking, on your LinkedIn profile, and all of that. So yeah, thank you again. And yeah, as Jamila said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and then I will read off of from those. If you agree with someone else's question, just give it that little thumbs up, and then I will prioritize those ones. You can also just come off of mute. We enjoy seeing people face to face and chatting, so feel free to do that as well. And yeah, we'll take about 5 or so more minutes to ask questions. So if this is your time, make sure you take advantage of it. We do have one in the box right now. I'm pretty sure you already addressed it though, Shamila, but maybe we can add a little bit more context.
Yeah.
So Adam says, what if you have knowledge in and you can discuss and talk about it for hours, but people don't recognize you for this yet? Any other context? Again, I know you said you kind of already addressed that a little bit earlier on.
I think add that. If it's something that you know that you bring to the table and it's something that you have, you know, a nice knowledge of, I add it. Yeah, this is something that you also want to cultivate. Two
The
ways to think about this is the things that you want to bring to the table, the things that interest you and excite you. So maybe, you know, maybe no one knows about it yet. But if you're like, no, really, I like study regenerative agriculture, I can tell you all about it. I want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah,
What
the
do you
context for that was all personal stuff that I was doing that wasn't done in a professional capacity, but you still had to do the same amount of work and research and everything that you would do. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anything that showcases kind of those core skills I mentioned, whether it's like communications and leadership or problem solving or analytics, those are things that can really want to see showcased in your, not only your personal brand statement, but in your resumes as well.
Yeah, certainly. Amazing. Anyone else have, oh, we had a hand. Awesome. Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Thanks
Hi.
both of you for leading this. I guess my question, and Sharmila, maybe you've heard this before, but I was pretty stuck on the first prompt, like sort of what gets you in your element. And it took me kind of a while to come up with a few things. So wondering if you've seen that before from the people you work with and any other like prompts that help get people going on that.
Yeah. One thing I also want you to think about is not just in your professional life, but in your personal life. I'm able to take insights and turn them, that's kind of my superpower, is being able to take insights and turn them into like statements that are business related or career related. So even if you tell me like I love gardening, and you love going into the garden, you love to like nurture those plants. What I know about that is I don't have a green thumb, but I know that that takes patience. It takes knowledge, like you research like how to care for these specific plants. I know that, you know, you're probably engaged, like you have to do it every day. You can't just like leave it. So, you know, you have this like dependability. So even thinking about some of the things that you work on in your personal life, that might help you kind of generate like what those aspects are when you're in your element. It could even be like listening to music. If you're listening to music, think about like what you're doing. Are you, what is that of like, do you like to like understand like the tempo? Like, do you research music? Do you find new music? I think there's a lot of hidden gems in these things that we just do on our day to day that we do in our personal lives that translate into what we might want to do and bring into our professional lives.
Thank you. That already had me thinking about like food and travel and other things that I might be able to find some aspects of professional insight into. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know with traveling, there's a lot of aspects to travel, right? You have to research where you're going, make sure that like there, especially in certain places, like make sure you've got all your facets in a row, but then there's this exploration factor and curiosity factor and wanting to gain knowledge. So yeah.
Christine, go for it.
Hello. Thank you so much for this workshop. I am new to climate. I've just started my climate career. And I was curious what your advice is on higher education and climate. Would you recommend that someone should pursue higher education to continue working in climate and building their career? And yeah, I was just wondering what kind of careers you would recommend would require that.
Well, so it's a great question. I get asked this question a lot. And when you're kind of looking at the avenues to choose, whether it be higher education or getting a certification of some sort, the way I like to have you think about it is to really think backwards in terms of the gaps you want to fill. And are those gaps, like, can you fill those gaps with higher education, or perhaps could there be other avenues to fill in those gaps? Are there open source tools out there? Are there internships, fellowships? There's so many organizations offering great resources as well. So I almost want you to think about this in two ways. It's like, what are the gaps that I want to fill? And then the network. You know, if you're going to jump into a higher education program, think of your end goals of you want to build a career in that space, right? You want to be able to land a role in that space. What kind of career services does that organization provide? What kind of network do they have? Is it a strong network? Because essentially that's what you're going to lean on when you graduate. So I want you to kind of think about it in that way. And there are many like kind of creative ways of building what I call credibility. So one is getting the education, right? I got my master's from the Presidio Graduate School, and I still found that I had gaps to fill. So I built credibility by joining organizations that were doing the work and learning. I'll tell you, just a quick story. Like I wanted to build my expertise in zero waste work. And I joined the Northern California Association just to like listen to what was going on in the field, what were some of the key pain points. And now I'm like privy to all of the kind of key players in the field. And I learned so much and I got involved. And so I built my credibility there because people kind of saw how I worked, saw the insights I provided. And then when it was time to pivot into this space, I kind of had a nice foundation. So I want you to also think about like what could get you peer to peer with the types of folks that you want to work with. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I think that will be our final question just because we're coming up at the end of the hour. But thank you all so much for joining and being so engaged. And as always, Shamila, thank you so much for offering up all this incredible information, and can tell by the energy in the chat and just in the questions that people really learned a lot. So thank you so much. And want to quickly hand it over to Leonie really quickly to tell us about our next month's session and all we can expect. But any final words, Shamila? Any final closing thoughts from you?
No final thoughts. Feel free to reach out to me with your additional questions or your brand statements. I'd love to see them. It's been my pleasure. You made my morning.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shamila and Natalie as well. We love running these sessions, and this was such a special one. I feel like the atmosphere was really, really awesome. I feel weirdly cozy for a winter's day. Our next session will be looking at job market predictions for 2025. We'll be doing a bit of a retro on 2024 and looking ahead to see what kind of skills will be in demand, how the conversation might shift, how people can prepare for what we think the job market will look like in 2025. I put the link in the chat, but we would love to see you there. It's going to be a really, really nice one. Bonus if you wear any kind of end of year, New Year, Christmas decor to the call. I would love that. But yeah, please join an RSVP. We would really, really love to see you there. And thank you again, everyone, for joining today, and Natalie for running the call.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, keep your eye out for it. We'll send out the recording once we have it. And then, yeah, add us all on LinkedIn if you have any other questions. Shamila said she's more than happy to answer them. So thank you all and hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you next month.